Hey guys, so I just wanted to do a quick little speed test comparison here between the new Xperia E5 and the J5 2016. So these are entry-level handsets from Samsung and Sony. I wanted to see which one's giving you the better performance in terms of the camera and the speed here. So both of them are fully up to date, and we have basically left everything as it is. And I think in terms of the specifications, we're getting a nice mix here of some features, like for example the E5 coming with a slightly higher end processor, but the J5 comes with more RAM and a Super AMOLED display obviously, but no auto brightness. So it'll be interesting to see how they compare here. And you can see, even though this is running Snapdragon 410, which is very old now, it does boot on faster here, a lot faster. So both of them are booted up now, which is very nice, and we can have a look to see everything is closed down. There we go. So let's do this. Let's see how they respond day to day. So it was very laggy on the E5. And again. Wow, the J5 is leaving the E5 standing here. I didn't expect this at all. You know, I was thinking the very heavy TouchWiz combined with an older processor would be in the Sony's camp. Seriously, Sony. I mean, it can't win for the high end or the low end. Look at that. That is terrible performance, if you ask me. We can have a look at the clock as well. So you can see it's literally everyone is loaded faster on the J5 here. And before you say, you know, this is a Samsung fanboy, I want Sony to be good, but I can't deny the facts here. I mean, the J5 just left it standing, even for the game. It would have been nice if we saw a bit more RAM, I think, on the E5. If Samsung can do it, I think Sony can. So I'll look at the speed here of the Wi-Fi compared. So I think this is coming with, yeah, just 2G. That sucks, but we'll try it anyway. Versus Sony. I would laugh my head off if it got faster than the Sony. I mean, it'd be like ridiculous. Even though it is 2G, you can see it's still getting quite a very good score for that speed. Usually it only gets about 40. I think about 50 is the theoretical max or something. Oh, we do have some nice scores at last with the Sony, but you can see it's only like 15, 16 higher. You know, I'd expect at least 100 for a 5G Wi-Fi device. I don't think I'm a fan of this MediaTek processor. I think it's, I can't remember the exact model, but you can look it up. We can have a look at the web browsing real term and see how that translates into, you know, day-to-day performance. So we're just going to load some heavy websites here. New York Times. go. Go. So quite similar with this one. Or Xperia a little bit faster maybe. Obviously Xperia only has Chrome as the main browser, so it could be a little bit more optimized. Oh, again Sony, very nice. Taking a bit longer there on the Samsung to load. Yeah, so it swung all the way around here, and we do have better performance on the E5 when it comes to the web browsing. So if you're into your web browsing, that could be good to know. Oh yes, we have LG V10 arriving, successor. Mark it in your calendar. Nice, can't wait for that. But I'm going to give that to the E5. Very nice performance indeed. Maybe it's a bit faster using Samsung's own browser, but we do want to be fair here. So we can just have a look at the multitasking. A bit quicker to go back into it on the Samsung. Wow, that was a lag. Laggy E5. I did notice when downloading some apps on the E5, sometimes the keyboard wouldn't come up, so I had to restart the whole device, which was quite annoying. But you can see, I think both of them could be better here, but the Samsung seems to be recovering a little bit better. The E5 seems to be grinding to a halt, and it just demonstrates really that MediaTek still isn't up there when it comes to the performance, like of the multitasking, etc. If you ask me, coupled with a lower amount of RAM, this is probably not the best device for multitasking, the E5. So quite conclusive there. I think the Samsung one on pretty much everything except for the browsing, obviously. Quite good on the Sony for that. How do they compare in terms of the camera? We can have a look as well quite quick and see you know, the performance here. So we did leave it on the superior auto mode, auto scene recognition as it's called, on both of them, and you can see I think in general the Samsung had slightly more pleasing performance when it came to the low light here. You can see the shot comparing a little bit darker on the E5, but with this one it seemed that the E5 was a little bit better in terms of the brightness, so a little bit mixed when it comes to the low light. But when it comes to the good light, I think the problem with the E5 is that the exposure is so high, the shots seem to be a lot brighter and unnatural than what you get on the Samsung. But the problem with the Samsung is that you don't get HDR mode, so with these sorts of shots, when you put the HDR mode on, you can see a very nice amount of detail in the back here. But when you zoom in on the J5 on the background trees, you'll notice that the exposure is not handled quite as well. That's at least when you're doing big shots from far away. So nice that they included HDR on the E5. I just think that the actual exposure at the moment is too bright generally, and also I noticed the same with the video recording. It seems to be the focus jumping around, etc. on the E5, so it definitely needs to be improved, I think. So we do have the Xperia E5 and we're comparing it with the J5 2016 here, and we're just going to have a walk, see how they handle some walking, and straight away I can see that the The E5 seems to be struggling to maintain a good focus. We have got the autofocus on both of them full HD, and we're just trying to see the focus speed here between the both of them. Both not particularly very responsive, if you ask me, particularly the E5. I might have to tap on the screen actually. Wow, that's better. So I think the J5 clearly is a little bit more stable here when it comes to the video. Not really sure what's going on with the E5, but maybe a software update will rectify that. So at the moment I think I prefer the J5's camera experience a little bit more at the moment, even though it doesn't have the HDR obviously. To me it just feels a little bit more reliable in general. So maybe an update will improve the situation on the Sony, but yeah, as I said, these two phones are about the same kind of price. They do come with some compromises here and there to bear in mind of. Obviously, you're getting a bigger battery on the Samsung, an amazing battery actually, versus a more modest battery on the Sony. So if battery backup is your thing, you might want to consider that. Also, the build quality has like a metal design here going around it, which I think gives it a nice air of premium versus a more monolithic slab of the Sony, which is a little bit more kind of conservative here. Sony does have some things in its court though. It does have obviously auto brightness sensors. Very annoying that we don't have that on the Samsung. We do also, I think, have slightly faster charging on the Sony, at least based upon testing the charging speed, which is quite nice as well. And I think the speakers on the back here with the J5, where it's on the edge here, so that could be quite good for listening to sounds coming from the device. But generally, I think I prefer the J5 overall for the overall experience here. It's a little bit more nicer display because of the Super AMOLED obviously technology. It's got the front-facing flash as well for your selfies. And the software just feels a little bit more kind of optimized here. Now and again, as I said, the keyboard wouldn't come up. Maybe that's to do with the processor, I'm not sure, but just generally I think the J5 feels a bit more mature at the moment. Yeah, just a quick little comparison here between these two. Probably compare the gaming as well if anyone's interested. So yeah, just a quick video here. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.